The reason why I accepted to come over here primarily was because, first off, I don't like consultants talking for our company, number one. And number two, hopefully I won't disappoint you, Jason, because you're going to probably hear it from a different perspective and at a different level than a consultant would be going through today. But I'm very honored to be here this morning. Always enjoy being over in all aspects of Wyoming. Obviously need to get over here more. I want to start by just setting the stage a little bit. Rocky Mountain Power is a division of PacificCorp, and PacificCorp operates across 6 western states. But I also want to highlight that that's where our service territory reaches. But beyond our service territory for serving customers, we also have generating facilities, and those are primarily coal generating facilities in additional states of Montana, Colorado, and Arizona. But on this map, as we go into the integration discussion, I really want to focus on the lines on the map, which is the large transmission system that PacificCorp has today. We are the largest transmission owner in the West by way of transmission line miles. And that transmission serves us and our customers extremely well. It has for many years, and it will continue to do so in the future. It allows us to take our diverse generation portfolio and move it all over the West to serve our customers across our 6 states. And just as importantly, it allows us access to each of the power markets in the Western United States. And that allows us to be able to take advantage when it makes more sense to buy power than it is to generate it. And that helps us keep our rates low. Because at the end of the day, we have among the lowest rates in the nation, and that is front and center. What we're focused on is making sure that we keep customers' rates low as we proceed. But we are a very large generation company, owner and operator of a generation fleet as well, and that is a very diverse fleet of generation. We have significant coal fleet across many states and located in many states, and certainly with a large percentage of that located here in Wyoming. But we also have a large hydro fleet, and we also are the 2nd largest rate-regulated utility owner and operator of wind generation in the United States. So that diversity, along with our transmission system, creates significant value and opportunity that allows us to serve our customers and maintain our low rates. So we never lose sight of that, because that is the foundation that helps us look at what we do as we move forward. So we're here to talk about regional integration. So the question that everybody has is why? And we have those same questions when we look at something and we start to consider whether we should investigate or look into something and analyze it. So the first reason is because we believe that there is the potential for economic savings for our customers. And that's front and center for us. We also believe that there is an opportunity for improved reliability over a much larger geographic footprint, and being able to consolidate balancing control areas and be able to look at reliability in a broader scale, and not in the 2 separate balancing authorities that we have today within PacificCorp. And I'd say those two items are very key. But we also think there's some icing on the cake types of opportunities that can come with regional integration. We think that there's some opportunity for savings that could stem from reserve sharing. We think that there's opportunity that we can get advantage of the geographical as well as the resource diversity. We have different peaks in different areas within the Western United States, and that peak capacity diversity can be valuable to us. And then certainly lastly, renewable integration and the ability to have more cost-effective renewable integration, which is how we view the renewable integration aspects. So we tend to investigate things and enter into things in small steps first and see how they deliver and pursue whether or not there's something that makes sense beyond that. And that's what we've really done here. And so I want to first highlight the regional energy imbalance market, because that really was the first step. And that was the step that moved us into the EIM, working with the California ISO, and that is allowing us to get benefits for our customers from essentially optimizing our load and generation, resource balancing, and dispatch in an automated way for every 5 minutes. And we are seeing the benefits that our analysis projected we'd see, and you can see those numbers on the screen there. And that was the projection. So if we look at how long we've been in the energy imbalance market, we joined the creation of this market in November of 2014. So as we look through 2015 through December, we look at the size of the benefits that we've received from that, and they're just shy of $31 million for our customers. And the second threshold there is the benefit that the customers in California have received for this energy imbalance market, and that's just under $14 million for those customers. And then on the 1st of December, NV Energy in Nevada, a sister company of ours, joined the energy imbalance market as well, after they did their own separate, independent investigation and analysis to see if it made sense for their company. So they joined, and in the first month, they received just under $900,000 in benefits for their customers. So the next step really is, if this is making such good sense, why wouldn't others do it? And as we were moving along in 2015, many other utility companies in the western United States started looking at the success that we were having. And we expect these benefits to grow as others join in the energy imbalance market. We will have 2 other entities joining in the fall of this year. And so that's our Puget Sound Energy up in the Northwest, as well as Arizona Public Service. We've got Portland General Electric that's announced that they will join in the fall of 2017. And we have Idaho Power, who is investigating joining, and we continue discussions with other parties in the West. So a small step in the right direction that is demonstrating that regional integration in some forms are delivering benefits for our customers. So that posed the question that said, is there another step that can continue to get incremental benefits over what the energy imbalance market can deliver? So that's really what the ISO integration effort is about. And in its simplest fashion, it would be the combining of the balancing authorities. Currently today, we have 2 balancing authorities. We have a western one, and we have an eastern one, and then we have the third one is the ISO balancing authority. And in joining the ISO, that would become one balancing authority. So it would now reach across a 6-state footprint. And that would bring different visibility and different opportunities that would come with a single balancing authority rather than balkanized balancing authorities, which we have throughout the West. It also allows for central dispatch and automated dispatch of the generation that would occur from a market-based perspective. Just as the energy imbalance market is looking at the every 5 minutes and getting that optimization on the dispatch, as you go into an ISO, you move into the hour-ahead markets and the day-ahead markets. So you're able to get better dispatch through optimization in further out in the future of time and being able to get those types of benefits. So one of the things that looks like it makes sense to investigate this. And then lastly, by joining balancing authorities, it enables renewables across the entire 6-state footprint to all be eligible for the California Renewable Portfolio Standard. Now, what we're not saying is that it's all about California Renewable Portfolio Standard, but we have renewable generation in our portfolio. We have it here in Wyoming. We've built a significant amount of wind in Wyoming, and we also have quite a bit of wind in the Pacific Northwest in the Columbia River Gorge area, and we have a small geothermal plant in Utah. So when we look at renewable opportunity to be able to get optimized dispatch and economics, it would make those eligible if it made economic sense to be dispatched and sold into a California market. So we look at it from that perspective as well. So where are we in this process? First thing I want to put on the table, and I want you to hear it from us, the company, and is that there are 3 very, very critical threshold items that have to come out the right way for this move to happen. And the first one is a fully independent governance structure, and that is paramount. The second one that goes hand in glove with that is a positive net benefit for our customers. And that is a net benefit. And we've set that threshold for ourselves. It's not a no harm standard. It is a net benefit. Can we demonstrate that this will produce net benefits to our customers? And if those first 2 items are proven as we go through the process, then we will file with our state regulatory commissions to ask for approval to join a regional ISO. So they all link very closely together. So let's talk about each one of those components. Where are we on governance? I would say governance has gotten started. I would say governance has a long way to go. But it has gotten started, and we'll see whether it gets steered to a direction that is actually fully acceptable to not just the company, but to all of our states as well, and our stakeholders in our states. Senate Bill 350, and that is a California Senate bill, was the first step, the first leg of that journey that's going to take quite a while to go through. And it is going to be quite a political journey. But Senate Bill 350 got put into law, and it supports moving to a regional ISO model, and it has requested that the ISO undertake some activities. So the first activity that they need to undertake is to outline a full proposal of independent governance structures. Now, one of the first steps in that process is they have come and reached out with all of the governors of all of the PacificCorp states and sat down to get from the governors through those discussions and the energy offices, what are the core principles that must be achieved for a governance proposal? I would expect that that is going to continue, and that dialogue could be quite lively as they move through their process. And frankly, we want it to be that way. It needs to make sure it gets done right. The next step is for them to actually develop the proposal as they've taken in feedback and put a proposal on the table. They have committed that as they draft that, there will be involvement in the process, and that they will then come back and meet with each of the governors and energy offices and stakeholders as well. So that process is going to be going on as we move through the first half of this year, and we would anticipate more and more transparency and information of that will become more visible to all interested parties. While that is going on, the legislation also requires the ISO to conduct a study on regional market integration. And they are currently drafting the scope of that, and that will be a more in-depth study, and they have defined criteria that they'll have to achieve with that. And certainly, we will be looking to make sure that we agree with the study, both the outline, the assumptions, and the vetting of the results and what they truly represent. So that will be a fairly technical process, and that is getting kicked off. And then lastly, assuming those two come together and they're positive and they're fully supported, then they will file the governance proposal as is required by their legislation. And we would anticipate that there would be no filing if that governance proposal is not adequate to meet the requirements of our company as well as all of our 6 states. So the second leg of that is about what is the potential for benefits here. So we're coming off a good experience with the energy imbalance market. And so our first step is to do an assessment, which is what Jason was referring to. We hired E3 to do a high-level assessment as to what the potential of benefits for our customers could be. And those are the numbers that you see here on the screen. And so the benefit study outlined potential benefits over a 20-year period, and those are in $15, and they're in billions, that there's a potential for PacificCorp customers on a range between $1.6 and $2.3 billion. And you will notice that the potential for California customers is greater than the potential for PacificCorp customers. So what did this tell us? Well, what this told us was those are big numbers, indication of a potential for some good benefits that we could capture for our customers to help our rates remain low. So now we need to look at the other side of that equation. And the other side of that equation is the costs, because those are just benefits. Those are gross benefits. They're not net benefits. So that's where we're at in the process today. We are going through the process of some very key areas that can, if not adequately designed, could produce significant costs. And so let's talk about what those are. The first one is a regional transmission access charge. So today we have a transmission rate. So just think of it as the transmission rate. And for the entities that are already in the ISO structure, they have one rate. They have a transmission blended rate. We, as a new entrant, already have a rate, and how that evolves when a new entrant, whether it's us or anybody else, can play a big factor. And so the stakeholder process is well underway in this area. The company has provided extensive comments on what we believe is required here in order to make this work and come out with no cost shifting between California customers and PacificCorp customers. And the ISO process put out a straw proposal based on comments from all the stakeholders. I believe it was last week. And that we were at least very pleased to see that strawman proposal was consistent with PacificCorp's comments and our requirements of where we felt it needed to be. So what were those? The first one was, as a new entrant, we cannot fold the transmission into a blended rate. The new entrant already has a transmission rate for their existing assets, and a new entrant should retain that rate for those assets. If that doesn't occur, we're going to see cost shifting, certainly with us because our rates are lower. So we would see a cost shift if there was a blended rate. So that is the strawman proposal that's come out, and that would be for existing assets. And it's a little more wonky than that, but it's existing assets plus any transmission assets that are in the process, already approved by regional planning, the local more regional planning processes. And then you have to deal with yeah, but. And the yeah, but is, what about new transmission? How's that going to get governed and managed as it comes along? And so PacificCorp, whether you uniquely or not uniquely, our transmission system, we have a lot of voltage levels in our transmission system, and all the way down to 46 kV. And so really important to understand what is going to be categorized as new transmission that comes, that meets the criteria, and then what will that criteria be? So the first thing we've done is set what the threshold for a new transmission asset that would not be part of the already existing rate for a new entrant. And that threshold has been set at 300 kV or above. And so that was consistent with what we recommended. The next principle that we absolutely need to make sure is built into this is that on new transmission, once it qualifies, that the costs of that new transmission follow where the benefits for that transmission are being received. And so that is very, very important principle as we look at the impacts, not just of day one, but once day one, now you're in day two, how does that evolve? The second item up here, so the straw proposal on transmission access came out. It's up for public comment right now. We would anticipate that they will try to finalize that in about the April timeframe. The next area of significant importance is resource adequacy. Now today we have our own balancing authorities. We do our own integrated resource planning, and we work with each of our states to ensure that our resource adequacy that is built into those integrated resource plans is acceptable to our states. And so having that shift and be governed differently is a very big concern to us. So the first principle we have in resource adequacy is it must recognize the integrated resource plans that the entities are doing. The second principle from us is that it must recognize the regulatory authorities of those integrated resource plans or other processes. And those are going to be very important. So resource adequacy is in its early stage. We would anticipate that there will be a straw proposal that will come out towards the latter part of this month, probably tail end of next week is what we would anticipate. And at this time, we don't know what that will be, but we have certainly provided what we think it has to be in order to manage PacificCorp as a new entrant, should that be a decision down the road. So that's another second big one there. The third big one are metering rules. And this is an area where we are in conversations and we are making good progress. And that, because this one alone, depending upon how it gets defined, could cost us day one $8 to $9 million for new meters. And that's just flat unacceptable. Because we're running our system, we're managing our system today, we're metering our data today, we're billing our customers today, and that should not be an issue. And so we've made that very clear in the process that having that big change on meters is absolutely an unacceptable outcome. So we'll see where this one hits. It's earlier in the stage. And then the last one I have on the list, and these are the big, these are the big hitters. The governance, and then these 4 big hitters really could manifest themselves in significant costs if not done right. And so the 4th one is what's called the grid management charge. And the grid management charge, the way to think of that very simply is that is the ISO's revenue requirement. And that's how they collect the revenue requirement for operating the ISO in the markets. So it's their costs. Okay. Well, the ISO exists today already in some form, and they have systems and markets today. And moving to an regional structure, we believe, is small, incremental. And so, our perspective on the grid management charge is this isn't an opportunity for the California utilities to get a windfall. Now, should we pay something for using the systems and the markets that they've paid for? Absolutely. Because if we're in them, we're getting benefits from them, otherwise we wouldn't have joined them. So, no different concept than you would do or consider for any other business transaction you're looking at. But how that grid management charge and its allocation to new entrants, and again, it's not just PacificCorp, it's any new entrants, will become very important. Because this number could be sizable. And so as we look at benefits, the cost side is extremely important because we need to make sure that the costs do not outweigh the benefits. Okay, so that's how we're going at this in a very measured way, and and at each threshold issue is really a checkpoint, because if it doesn't come out with an acceptable answer as we analyze what is necessary for our customers and our company, then we don't go to the next step. Okay, so that's how we're approaching it. So what is the schedule for this thing? And I'd say that I wouldn't get too wedded to this picture. This is the ISO's project plan schedule. And at the top, you see the independent governance. That'll be the top bar. And that's going to be going on through the year. Through June is what they're targeting. But we shall see, would be my response. And I think you'll hear more about that shortly. But at the end of the day, that's a threshold issue. And it's a threshold issue for us as a company, and it's a threshold issue for our commissions, our customers, and our governors. And so that one is absolutely paramount, that we know that we have an outcome that's acceptable before we go too much further. So the second green bar are those stakeholder processes that I talked about for the transmission access charge, resource adequacy, and those. So those are running along in parallel. And those are really about design, tariff design, rule design, what are the rules of the game going to be? And those all get embedded in tariffs. And because transmission and an ISO, FERC approvals would be required on all of those as well. Okay, so that's a whole nother step of process or threshold that any of those must go through as well. And if all of that, if we just take a leap of faith that all of that comes out fine and we have a net benefit for customers, the governance structure is fully independent and acceptable to all of us, and if we achieve that point, then the bottom bar, we would make regulatory filings in each of the 6 PacificCorp states, and that we would go work with our commissions and our stakeholders in the regulatory process in order to demonstrate that the governance is fully independent and that the design and the opportunity produces net benefit for our customers. And that really is the burden that we have. And we look at that every step of the way as we're going through this process. So keeping with that leap of faith, assuming we make those filings, they'd be targeted at the end of the year or in the first quarter. Again, I'll tell you, this is a very aggressive schedule, and I would tell you it's probably highly optimistic. But assuming we did, we would anticipate regulatory approvals by the end of 2017 with an implementation go live of 2019. So what we would anticipate is that as any of these slide, as long as they're continuing, as any of them slide, we would expect any go live date to slide as well. Now, certainly we'd look at implementation and the doability in those aspects. But very aggressive schedule, and I think that we've got some positive indicators, but we are a long ways from getting through all of the threshold issues that are before us to see if this really makes sense. And that would be the message that I would give you, and which is why I'm here speaking with you today and not a consultant. Because the spin the consultant would have given you was, how could you not do it? Look at the benefits. Look at the nice shiny object over here, right? And there's a lot more to it. And as we move forward and we get design and all of these threshold issues, there will be more detailed production modeling of benefits. And we'll have to test that those benefits truly hold. And that will be part of the process. And that will be part of the evidence, ultimately, that demonstrates why this would make sense, okay? So important for me, for you guys to hear from me, and not others that might be just a tad bit caught up in the process. And so I appreciate your opportunity to let me speak today, and thank you for that. And I think we're gonna let Bill give you his perspective and then take questions afterwards. Is that what we're gonna do? All right. Thank you.